Hey, what's up everybody? Onepeg here. So I am getting ready to go to bed and going back on vocal rest as soon as I'm done recording this summary. Thanks to my buddy So Bad, he was able to take some notes, of which I'm just going to kind of read back what it was that he wrote along with some of my own thoughts. So first up, talked to Terry and SDF for about 2 hours. The full length of that is a live VOD that you can go and check out here on YouTube underneath the Lives tab if you want to go and do that. But the first major feature that they're adding for the December 18th wipe, the wipe is December 18th, by the way, for those of you that didn't know, is the continuous dungeon. The idea here is that the dungeon is going to have the doors more or less open the moment that you arrive. There's also going to be an infill mechanic where people will be able to join the raid even if it's already underway, up to several minutes. We're not exactly sure how far in, up to several minutes into the dungeon's timer. Again, we don't know exactly what that's going to be, and they did say that it was going to be something that's going to vary depending on balance needs and how the map flow feels and whatnot. There will not be any respawns. It's still going to be the same duration, but all the doors will be open. That means that you can leave through a blue portal, right away, or you can take red stairs down. Every time that you take the red stairs down, you will re-enter a new queue, and that will put you in a queue with other people looking to go into Crypts, and then again looking to go into Inferno. This also means that the vendor in between, the expressman, is no longer going to be there. There's no more in between. Now, this also comes with a new randomizer mechanic, only for Crypts on the start. They said that they have about 50 to 60 modules that they're going to be implementing, and they will be randomly assembled on a 4x4 grid instead of a 5x5 grid for Crypts. This is going to end up permeating the rest of the maps as well eventually, but for now, Crypts is what they have. Eventually, they want to build this into a system where the size and shape of the dungeon overall will end up being random as well, and they're going to implement a fog of war mechanic so that you can only see the module that you are in and where you have been, similar to the Binding of Isaac, if you want to think about it that way. For the time being, the fog of war part of it won't be implemented yet, but when they get the entire system in that they're looking to develop, that's the plan. Also, this means that the map rotation is going to be gone. You have the ability to pick whichever map it is that you want to queue into, and since there's going to be this infill system that's built into it, they will just queue you up until you enter a map already in progress, or you end up spawning a new one with other people waiting in line. But at least now you don't have to wait for the map to come up on the carousel. You can just pick whatever map and your team size and go. Now on to Arena. When asked about it, SDF said that the Arena still needs some amount of polish, but it's about 80% of the way to where they want it. They want to implement more maps, a more refined MMR system, and ranking systems in general, but for the most part, they think that this is about where they want it to be. SDF did say that he's contemplating a 1v1 or 2v2 map mode, but for now, the 3v3 Arena bracket is kind of where they're sitting with it. Again, they are working on a new map. It's a water world map. This map is not quite finished yet. This biome, if you want to think about it that way, kind of like how the ice mountain is its own biome and has its own maps in it. This water world-esque thing is going to be its own biome. It's going to have a new swimming mechanic. We've seen animations of swimming already in the game, well, at least in the game files, but there's going to be the implementation of swimming, and this swimming mechanic will also end up being retro into the other maps that have deep enough water to need to swim in them. This map, however, will not be available at wipe. It will be something that they're looking at adding. My guess would be, just based on other things that we've seen in the past, this probably will make it into Season 6. Now, a new class is also going to be available on day 1, and that is the Sorcerer. That is going to be in on the December 18th wipe, but they did say it's a work in progress and will likely end up having some weird tuning stuff or be buggy or both. The Sorcerer is going to be, again, a spellcaster similar to that of the Wizard, but is going to be mechanically very much different. They said that they're going to have individual cooldown as a mechanic for the spells that the Sorcerer is able to cast. They're not going to be a caster that's able to cast these things quickly, and they're going to have individual hands to cast a spell out of their left hand and right hand. They also did talk about the ability to combine those spells, but we don't know exactly what that's going to look like or if that mechanic is going to be in the game for the Sorcerer when the Sorcerer is given to us. They will also be adding a character slot to the game for us so that we can have one of each character class. Then they also talked about a socketing system. The socketing system is going to be available on day 1 of the December 18th wipe. It can overwrite random modifiers that were already rolled on your RNG'd gear. the way that it's planning on or is supposed to be working is they're going to give like your ability to re-roll a specific line item on those random modifiers. Depending on the rarity of the item, let's say it's purple, it will require a gem of equivalent rarity depending on which stat it is that you choose from the list that comes up that you want to change. So for instance, if it's a pair of boots and I want to get additional move speed on them, in order to get that move speed roll, let's say the boots are purple, I would need like a purple ruby, if it's a ruby that does it, in order to be able to add or change to that move speed stat instead. This gives us a different, I guess, secondary market for rare gems, instead of it just being something that would be sold off to one of the traders, like the collector in this case. There was also a talk of like social systems, like the Gathering Hall, which has now been eliminated. And now that the Express Man has been removed from the game, or will be very soon, that also means that Otto is not going to be in the game either. So they want to re-add the tavern as a social meeting space and have Otto come back to us, obviously, but they also are looking at the idea of putting in like an in-game trading card game like Gwent or something along those lines, or the different trading card games that we've seen throughout like Final Fantasy VII and the like. That, I guess, kind of mode of thinking is something that they want to add to the game to allow us to be able to like play a card game against other people in the tavern, and SDF is kind of excited about that idea and really wants to make that happen and have it tie into the rest of the game. This also gives a little bit more incentive to the idea of creating a social space, which is something that Terry really wants to do for everyone. And for the rest of us that want to be able to just do combat stuff, this would also give us back our training dummies so that we can go someplace without like, the whole combat dungeon, whatever, being spawned, and let us kind of beat on a dummy to see whatever kind of numbers that we're generating from it. Not necessarily a bad idea, but I'm still one of those people that thinks that they should be adding like main game content before they bother getting to social space. But that's just me. I'm not whoever's making the game. They are, and I'm just here to enjoy it as it comes along. A couple of other added things when they talked about shields, we did briefly mention shields and how they are a little bit broken with the desync shield block stuff going on. They said that they know and have identified the things that have caused them, but the team that would be responsible for dealing with that specifically and the hitboxes for shields are currently working on the implementation of the water map and mechanics surrounding the Sorcerer. So once those things are kind of pushed into the game for content, we'll then see them work on like bug fixing the animation problems that exist and the desync problems that exist for shields. There was also a little bit more conversation about Cleric and how Cleric is such a strong component in a 3-man comp with all of the heals and how strong they are. Part of that is believed to be a bug because chat was kind of spamming about how Sanctuary, for example, only ends up receiving the healing debuff for the first tick of Sanctuary and the other 4 are full heals. It did not seem as though the devs were aware of that bug. I wasn't aware of that bug. It was something that chat kept writing about. So I let them know that it exists, if it actually exists, and they said that they were going to look into it and they will make sure that make those adjustments. They also said that Cleric as a base class by itself, because it lacks the movement speed that other classes are able to build into, means the Cleric is kind of a one-trick surrounding like this healing stuff. Yes, the healing is very strong, but they said that that's really all the Cleric has to work with at the moment. So I don't know if that's necessarily true given like the PDR stuff and everything else, but whatever. They say that it's strong, but it's only strong in the sense of that one trick. So I don't know if that's actually going to keep, and if they're going to like leave the Cleric for the way that it is at the moment. They said that they basically wanted to leave it alone and then work into other mechanics. And once they're able to like move away from, and it sounds like they wanted to move away from the idea of this movement speed meta that the game currently entails, the Cleric would kind of start to come into its own and they could worry about tweaking the healing at that point in time. In line with this movement speed idea, this movement speed meta, they said stuff like bunny hopping and the buff ball mechanics and how people are kind of building into move speed specifically is something that they're going to try and work away from. And in doing so, by doing that, they'll be getting rid of the bunny hopping mechanic won't feel as painful. Because right now, bunny hopping is one of the few ways that casting classes or rangers can stay away from the guys trying to kill them in melee range. I also did ask about an end of wipe event. They said that they were looking into doing some form of end of wipe event. I mentioned maybe making everything like 1 gold and unlocking all of the traders or something. I don't think we need to do multi-class again, but like, 1 day of having everything be super cheap, I don't think would necessarily be awful. So maybe they'll give us something different this time around. So that is basically it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to all of the questions that I would like to have gotten to, and with the end of this summary video, I'm going to be going back on vocal rest for the next 5 days. So if you do end up coming by the stream, and I would really think it would be pretty awesome if you did. Just understand that I won't be speaking, and instead I will have an AI voice model that I've trained that sounds kind of wonky that will be doing the job for me, I suppose. Thank you again, everybody, for lending me your eyeballs and supporting me over the years. You guys are amazing. Hopefully my voice is able to heal back up to normal. And yeah, I look forward to speaking with you with the voice that I'm used to having up until this point. Otherwise, I suppose I will see you in the next video. Thank you for lending me your eyeballs, everyone. We'll see you real soon. Peace.